4, 3, initialize the fail lab.
My name is Dilworth, and I'm a PhD candidate in molecular neuroscience at the California Institute of Technology. Today in the Fail Lab, we have Dr. Clifford Johnson. Clifford is a professor of physics and astronomy at the University of Southern California. He was also a 2005 Maxwell Medal recipient.
And I'd like to introduce Dr. Adam Steltzner, who was the chief engineer on the recent landing of the Mars Curiosity rover mission.
Failure. I'm an aerospace engineer. In my field, there's a lot of failures. In fact, when you look at it, some of our earliest fail videos are actually attempts at flight. And aerospace engineering isn't the only field to have failures, right?
Well, when it comes to brain research, as late as the last century, neuroscientists were performing lobotomies and scooping out certain regions of the brain and cutting important connections in an attempt to treat mental health conditions. What we learned from this is what those regions of the brain were responsible for and what behaviors they controlled. This also led to more awareness of patient rights when it comes to research.
In my field, in physics, for most of the 19th century, we believed in this amazing substance that pervaded everything called the ether. But when you actually do an experiment that looks for the ether, it failed to show up in the experiments. And that failure is the foundation of much of 20th century physics, for example, relativity. We actually are born as scientists first and foremost because we're trying to interact with nature, we're trying to understand how to move around in our world. We start doing experiments, touching things, feeling things, tasting things.
This exploration and curiosity, especially from childhood, is crucial for brain development.
What actually happens is that the culture sort of beats it out of us, and we don't all end up being scientists because fear of failure tells people to tell us to stop doing experiments and to be careful. But the essence of experimentation is fundamental to who we are as a species.
We are tremendously curious creatures. Our curiosity drives us to explore our world and to experiment. Those experiments have successes, but perhaps most importantly, failures. In fact, you can think of our accumulated knowledge as being stepwise accumulation of our failures. This striving to experience the universe in new ways is something that's fundamentally human. Perhaps the worst mistake we can make is to not try for fear of failure.
We'll be back next week with more surprises. In the meantime, follow us on Facebook where the conversation continues. And until then, when you're exploring your world
and you experience failure,
but you continue to explore,
you've got Zoochosis.